Hello traders, welcome to the weekly algo and setups volume 295. Iliya here, and as always, you know the drill. We're gonna jump into the markets, have a look what happened this week, what kind of setups we had, and most importantly, try to make a forecast for the incoming week. The market is finally moving, it is offering some setups, so without further ado, let's check out the economic calendar and get into the technicals. Opening up the economic calendar at first glance, it looks extremely busy. However, on Monday, we don't have pretty much anything. So no USD news, no bureau, nothing. Tuesday, we have a speech here from Bank of England, and then we have a speech from Powell as well, which definitely could be important. And then this medium impact USD news. Then on Wednesday, we have existing home sales, usually not really giving a big drive into the market. And then pretty much the meat of the week is on Thursday. All right, so we're getting the PMIs, the Euro PMIs, the GBP PMIs, and we're having a Euro interest rate. Okay, so we should absolutely be waiting for that if you are trading the Euro. Now, of course, it seems like they're going to be stopping at 2.15% rate. So hopefully that remains, else we're going to get a lot of volatility. And then we have USD unemployment claims, press conference, and then PMIs also for the US dollar, and then again, new home sales. Oh, this is new, this is existing, okay. And then on Friday, we have some USD news here and a little bit of Euro and GBP. So it looks like it's probably going to be a little bit of a sluggish week starting Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, all the way until Thursday, when we're really going to bang potentially with all the PMIs. Now, of course, currently it's extremely important to monitor Twitter, to monitor like your news outlets, because Trump comes from time to time and he says some things like he did this week, and it can bring in twice the volatility of what, for example, a CPI or even a Fed rate could potentially bring. So always watch. A website that I can recommend is Financial Juice as well, that you can monitor for the news. So yeah, looks like a pretty nice week, especially on Thursday. So without further ado, let's get into the technicals. Before we get started, make sure to join my free school community. It's an absolutely incredible, positive community with a lot of value from everybody. And the classroom here is a full course that I've never shared anywhere. So make sure to join. It's the first link in the description. All right, as usual, we're gonna get started with a Dixie. You know, recently I actually started reverse engineering the market. I kind of keep the exact same outlook that I had on the previous Saturday. And then, of course, we're looking at how the market developed from that. And instead of, like, for example, starting from the weekly, I would start from the 40 time frame to first of all kind of see what happened this week and what kind of setups we got. It was honestly a pretty nice week. We got 3 setups on Euro USD, gold also a lot of setups. So pretty much, again, you can see what I was expecting is, again, like when the market closes in a very choppy manner, okay, you can see Friday here, nothing. We just have to wait, okay? And this is what I always tell you, like I've been even thinking to make a weekly outlook, but again, it doesn't make a sense for me to make a weekly outlook on Tuesday. I'd probably get a little bit more consistent maybe with the Wednesday outlook. Let me know if you would like that. Because again, like there was nothing much to say, and it's going to be pretty similar this week as well. We either see if the market's going to drive us lower towards this liquidity point, or if it's going to drive us higher towards this one. And again, you can see the first thing that the market did, it kind of took out some liquidity, consolidated. But then again, this is why I love imbalances, is because they're always going to show you who's in control. Okay, so then we had that bullish one, the market pulled back into it, and then pretty much this Tuesday, that was the CPI. Okay, so we really didn't trade on Tuesday, but we did trade on Wednesday. So we took this, I mean, we didn't take a long on the DXY, but we took a short on EU and GU. Pulling back again, you can see right now, you can see the order flow is being established. We can see that the market is currently driving us higher. We get the zone, the market pulls back, and then we beautifully attacked the liquidity. So that was one of the trades. And then we had the Trump candle here. He said he's gonna fire Powell, then he said he wrote a letter for firing him, and then suddenly he said he doesn't plan on firing him and that it was fake news. And you can see, again, we had here, this is the CPI candle, and then somewhere around here was the PPI candle, I think this one. But pretty much the Trump thing, all right, it was 100 pips, okay, on the DXY. And it is kind of the same as the CPI and the PPI combined, which is, again, extremely crazy what that guy could do, okay? And then pretty much we also got a setup on yeah, there was a setup every day on Euro USD. Yeah, there was the short trade here. So this is on Friday, actually, a beautiful short. And there was even a short setup on Thursday as well, which I'm going to show you on Euro USD. But overall, you can see, again, that pretty much flowing with the market. It kind of got pretty messed up when we printed this sort of range. But then the market came in like there was a long trade actually on Thursday towards the liquidity. So then we took out the previous daily high here, okay? And then pretty much on Friday, we were traveling towards the previous daily low, which was exactly right here. So pulling back into the gap, taking this one, while on Thursday it was pulling back here for a higher low and then taking out that one. So a lot of plays on liquidity this week, especially after that sweep. So let us see what we can do right now. Getting back to it, this weekly imbalance here, we can clearly see that right now it is failing. And in fact, we're actually creating a weekly bullish imbalance. Now, this to me means right now that we're starting to get the first signs that the market might want to flip on the DXY. And again, the first liquidity target that I have in mind is this high. But again, if I just zoom out a little bit, right, the market is in heavy lower highs and lower lows, okay? So can this be another lower high for the market to flush, or are we finally going to make a trend change? Well, this is what we're about to see potentially in the next 2 weeks, okay? Now, this is what I call a breakaway gap, which means that I wouldn't necessarily expect for the market to pull back all the way down and then go long from here. So I would immediately refine to the daily time frame to see if there is something to push the market higher apart from that weekly imbalance. And there is nothing, okay, which sucks. It would have really been nice to have like a daily zone here to then immediately say, okay, I'm gonna target the liquidity here and then the liquidity here. But we don't really have anything, and the Friday candle was kind of 50-50. And then of course we have to resort to the quality time frame, which is my absolutely favorite time frame, because it's not like a lower time frame. Like I would even say the 1 hour is a lower time frame, like 50-minute. But it's not as high as the daily and the weekly, which take a lot of time. So the quality time frame is really the golden time frame. This is what I always wait for Monday to set up, because Monday is going to form you again. You can see starting, where is it? Like Monday, you're going to see quite a couple of quality candles that are literally going to give you a day, okay, of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, around 6, 7 quality candles that are going to give you the bias. And then from there, you literally know where the market's going to go. Well, not literally, but you get the drill, right? It's all probability. So currently what we're having is this quality bullish zone, and that is kind of following through. I mean, not following through, but creating after we had pretty much a little bit of a bearish order flow. So we had 2 quality bearish imbalances here. The market looks bearish, but then we took out the previous daily low and the market rejected very heavily, creating that bullish one. So here, this is kind of a V shape. It's still a little bit indecisive. Okay, so me taking longs once again, what I would do is I would just very simply wait for the market to pull back into that one, show me that there are longs, create a new imbalance here, then very simply I'm just going to flow with the market towards the next liquidity point. It's as easy as that. And guess what? If the market invalidates that imbalance, prints a bearish one, I attack this liquidity and then I go for the weekly imbalance. That could be again another draw on liquidity for this market. So this is my outlook on the DXY. You can see I spent 6 minutes. I could have done this in 20 seconds, but this is how I currently look at it. Honestly, I don't have a preference right now. I feel like there have been a lot of buyers coming in here, but to me still looks like a corrective pullback. Okay, you can see we don't really get any daily bullish imbalances. The market is still a little bit indecisive. I really think that if we potentially break above that major lower high, that is when potentially some sellers are going to start getting covering. They're going to start getting stopped out. And then maybe we can get an impulse higher, but we never know. So for now, I'm a little bit more inclined for the longs, but any signs that I see for shorts, which has been the overall trend for the DXY, I'm going to be quick to immediately shift my bias. All right, EURUSD, we talked so much about the DXY. EURUSD is pretty much the reverse. Now, again, you can see we wrapped up the week in an extremely choppy manner, right? And we were tapping into that weekly zone. So again, we should have just waited for the market to show us what it wants to do. And honestly, it kind of opened up and it was pretty chopped up, right? It gapped down. It actually took the liquidity. The first thing it did, it took the liquidity, recovered, took it again, recovered a little bit. And then it finally gave us the first quality zone, okay? However, taking us into Tuesday, that was CPI, so we did not trade on Tuesday. And then the CPI kind of really gave us the direction, okay? And then guess what? You just wait, you sit on your hands, and then you get this, all right? Absolutely textbook shorts from the quality zone to the low here. Beautiful. And then we had the Trump candle. Luckily, we did hit take profit before the Trump candle, all right? Because then it actually arrived, and we absolute massive whipsaw, stopping out a lot of these sellers here. So imagine how many sellers were there, like following these lower highs and potentially trailing their stop loss. All of them got pinged out. Probably a lot of buyers also got introduced. So that was a very, very, very nice manipulation. However, it's not very nice because I actually had a member of mine, a very profitable trader of the Fanatic community, lost one of his funded accounts with a slippage because he got like 50 pips slipped and he violated his daily drawdown rule. So rather unfortunate, but again, with Trump right now, always gotta be careful. But there is one short that we took, and then there was another short right here. All right, the market is showing us that it doesn't really want to continue higher. It didn't print a following bullish imbalance. There is nothing to stop the market towards the next liquidity point, which was this. That was the previous daily low. Okay, and then the setup was taken on the 1 hourly time frame here from this 1 hourly zone. Absolutely easy setup. Okay. And then only that, but on Friday also, right, the market is showing us that it doesn't want to go lower. Then it flips with a forwardly bullish imbalance. What do we target? The previous daily high. Where is it? There's Thursday's high. Okay, forwardly tap, boom, previous daily high, bingo. Okay, so beautiful week on your USD. All you have to do is literally wait for the market to exit that consolidation, let it show you where it wants to go, and then after this you just simply flow with the markets. Okay, because you cannot forecast this candle, you cannot forecast anything. All you have to do is just show up daily and track what the market is doing. Now, we're still inside that weekly imbalance. However, I would again say, I mean, we've spent 1,000 candles inside that imbalance, so I would no longer take it as a relevant zone. On the daily time frame, it is extremely choppy, like extremely slow. We're getting some setups right now. You can see the daily candles are kind of starting to get bigger compared to this week right here, but extremely choppy. We tapped into the very last, what I call reaction area. Okay, this is where the market could react. And this is actually where the Trump candle came in, but then we came in and swept it. And right now we tried to push up. We saw the previous daily high. It is super unclear on the daily. And then, of course, if this weekly kind of zone fails, we could look to target the liquidity. But I am a little bit skeptical to be calling this sort of reversal because I'm really not seeing the bearishness here within the daily. Okay, the forwardly time frame is not that bad. I mean, the forwardly time frame has been making consistent lower highs. Okay, so it looks pretty good. However, right now, let's see what is happening with the flower. Now, we came in here, swept. We came in here again, swept. We printed a little bit of a forward here where we took the trade. And then afterwards, did we print anything new? No. I mean, we have an extremely, very, very, very minuscule forwardly zone. These kind of zones I don't even draw. Like, if you type if you put on the FOH, as I always do, and if you cannot see it with a normal chart like that, it's usually bad. And again, like currently you can work with that high and this high as your liquidity. And then again, what I have to say once again is we gotta wait. Okay, we gotta wait because we're not really getting any. I am usually more certain when I have like a daily or a weekly zone that we're tapping in, and then I can say, okay, I'm really looking for the follow through. But currently we are kind of still a little bit stuck within that Trump candle. Okay, so where is the market going to take over? Is it going to pull back and start giving shorts to then target the liquidity? Is it going to violate that and start getting long and then target towards the opposing side of the liquidity? I don't know. Okay, and on the DXY, it's kind of the same, right? I do like, for example, longs a little bit more on the DXY, which means shorts on EU, which again, this has been the case for a while. But it's also possible this is a transition area for the market to start rocking higher again. We don't know yet. You can see it's pretty chopped up here. It kind of came out of one range and then it came into like a bigger range right now. So I'm waiting. Chill, right? I'm waiting. Monday, let it pass. Tuesday, let it show you where it wants to go. You are going to get 2 to 3 good trading days per week. All you have to do is wait for them. So this is your USD. Again, sometimes I give you 2 scenarios like that. We got to wait to see which one is going to take over and then we're going to flow. As far as I remember, GBP/USD looked pretty good for shorts, right? You can see here on GU, I was more one-sided, right? I had either a pullback here for the short or then the market showing me wants to go short and then to potentially dump lower. What I see I also expected is a daily bearish imbalance to form on Tuesday, which it actually did. However, yeah, so there is Monday already flushed big time. Okay, so that was hard to catch. So then, of course, you have to refer to the quality time frame, which is where the actual trade occurred. Okay, you just wait for Monday to open, let it pass, let it show you where it wants to go. Boom, there is our first imbalance. The market pulls back into it. I did take that short, but I got a nasty stop loss on this one. I'm not pissed about it, but I got a pretty I refined my stop loss a little bit, and the market literally stopped me to the tick. Okay, and then it rushed towards my liquidity target. It's all right. It's all right. But then, yes, we took out the liquidity, and then there was also another short right there just before the Trump candle. You could have taken it, and then it pinked the liquidity, and then the Trump candle came in, and then since then it became super unclear. EU was a lot better this week than GU, but GU kind of really opened up a little bit more bearish here. And if we also look at GU right now, it is, again, we forecasted this, that we didn't have anything bullish on the weekly to potentially push price higher. And the last thing that it did is it took out the buy side liquidity. So then usually what I expect is to take sell side. And it has done this right now, together with a weekly bearish imbalance, which is extremely important because on EU we don't have it. All right. So EU is kind of still maintaining a little bit stronger than, for example, GU is. GU is having a weekly bearish imbalance. So like going forward, you probably can make kind of an objective decision to say, okay, I would prefer GU a little bit more because it's more bearish. Okay, so if you take a short, for example, probably GU is gonna go to the short side a lot faster. Okay, here we had a daily bearish imbalance. The market actually tapped it and kind of is reacting. Then on Friday we swept here. We're starting to point bearish towards that low. To me, it still really looks pretty bearish. Absolutely bearish. Yes, this is like a market that shouts to me, right? So there it is. Hourly bearish imbalance here as well. Very corrective price action to the upside. Tapped into the daily. Didn't violate this high. It doesn't have anything bullish to stop it. We had this long here. That's the long that we took on EU on Friday. Follow through. But then you can see, unlike EU, this one is flushing very nicely with a beautiful hourly imbalance. EU is like, meh, right? Trying, but not really. So yeah, on GU, I can already say if this was a normal day, I would absolutely be looking for a pullback like that and attacking the liquidity. Beautiful setup. I would even be dropping on the 1 hour to see if there is something. In this case, there is none. So this is it. GU, I literally wouldn't even say a bullish outcome here. Of course, guys, always expect it. Like, don't get married right now. GU short. No, right? If the market opens with a bullish one, I'm going to be the first one to long it and target these highs, okay? Because I'm very good at flowing with the markets. I don't have any biases. I just show up daily. I don't care what is happening long or short. All I care about is making money and flowing with the markets, okay? But of course, currently, that is the overall forecast, pulling back into that zone and then attacking the liquidity. You have a more low-hanging fruit right here, so both of those could get taken. So let's see. I mean, pretty straightforward. It can develop in different ways as well, right? It can just, for example, flush lower without pulling back. I've seen this happen if it's like pretty bearish. It can just open up flush, and then you have to be really quick to catch a trade. It can, of course, even like you could see, for example, come into sweep here and then print the bearish, but this one is kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's see, short bias on GU, which kind of gives me more short bias on EU as well, and then long bias on the DXY, which is again the long on the DXY I do like. Let's see how it plays out. Let's have a look at those in NZD, which are the pairs that I do not touch right now. I mean, I don't touch them at all. We had a daily bullish here, but after taking liquidity, so that was a pretty bad kind of a scenario here. But yeah, we tapped in, we just didn't see any bullishness immediately. And then, yeah, this is why I don't trade these pairs. These are extremely choppy pairs, right? You get this, for example, that hourly bearish here, but that is still inside the daily. And then the daily kind of looks like it's reacting and it's giving you signs of bullishness, then suddenly absolutely dumped, okay? And then you get, yeah, you overall got the short here that we took, but you can see it didn't really do anything until Trump candle came in. And then it flushed out of nowhere, and then it retraces out of nowhere. And right now it's giving us bullish signs and suddenly bearish signs. I mean, this is a really bad pair. I mean, I don't even want to analyze this. Like, look at the weekly time frame here. I would not touch a pair like this, but I gotta. So let's see. We don't have anything bullish to push us higher, so that immediately means the market could be seeking sell side, but we don't know that yet. Yeah, it did take out this low here. It swept it. So this is liquidity taken. We don't have anything on the daily bearish. Oh man, this is just a very bad pair. I mean, the last things we did is we had a hourly bullish here. Like, we had a little bit of a hourly bullish push. Like you can see here, we kind of swept that low here, right? And then we printed a quick hourly bullish, tapped in, follows through, another hourly bullish, follows through as well. So two kind of longs here. And right now it's building again that 50-50 situation where you have like a hourly bullish followed by a hourly bearish. In terms of structure, if you zoom out a little bit, I see lower highs, so I would prefer shorts on Aussie dollar. However, again, I would wait for more confirmation on this one. So unlike GU, that I have more confidence, this one is daily bearish, weekly bearish, it's all bearish. This one doesn't have absolutely any clue on the higher time frame, so it can absolutely do anything it wants. But what I would say is, for me, a good trade will be something like that. Okay, for the market to show me that it actually wants to go bearish, make a new imbalance, pull back into it, and then target the liquidity. So I wouldn't really rush to be taking anything right now. And of course, if it flips longs, if it invalidates that high and makes a new higher high, okay, because still, if you look at structure, we're still lower highs, okay, so we still push pullback. This is still part of that previous range, okay. If you just look very kind of very, how do I say, not like really go zoom in like, oh, break structure, oh, break structure here. No, just zoom out a little bit. What's happening right now? Lower highs, okay. So that's currently looking like another lower high. So if we violate it, that creates a higher high, and then we can look for longs, okay, as simple as that. However, if this one maintains and we start building bearish order flow, I would be looking to short. So that's Aussie dollar. I hate these pairs. I still analyze them, but this is how I would look at them. Checking out the NZUSD real quick, I see that I had more of a bearish outlook here. So there was where we closed, we had all these liquidity points, and then I either said we pop higher and then reverse, or we just flush lower, which is what happened. We just flushed lower, took the liquidity. That pretty much happened on Monday. All right, so great, happened on Monday. And then we have to see what happens next. The market looks like it swept that low, and then again it gave us that fake kind of bullish push here with a very small forward imbalance. Again, that doesn't always mean, hey, we got an imbalance, let's go long. No, because if you zoom out a little bit, you see that kind of the narrative, the structure is bearish. And then yes, the market flushed similar to the rest, forward imbalance, follow through, Trump candle, and then it gave us a very quick long. So let us see if it's making something on the hard time frame. Okay, it actually is. So we're coming from a sweep. From that weekly. And this is a very clear target right now, this low. And apart from that, we're having a weekly bearish imbalance, really suggesting, hey, on a hard time frame, somebody is taking over potentially. That is a draw on liquidity, monthly imbalance, and also this liquidity. Do we have something on the daily? No, we don't have anything on the daily, so we gotta work with the forward. And the forward is also like this recent bullish push. Yeah, this is Friday pretty much. It's kind of sketchy. Okay, it had this forward zone that got tapped, followed through. Then we had another forward zone right now, but currently we're still in the creation of a forward bearish zone. So what I would say right here is, again, we gotta wait a little bit for that bearishness to really kick in. So wait for the market to pop lower, pull back, and then target liquidity number 1, okay? And then you have liquidity number 2, and then you have a draw on liquidity number 3, okay, which is the monthly imbalance. So let's see. I do like NZUSD more for shorts, which kind of over aligns with my overall kind of scenario for this week, which is kind of a bullish dollar. I do want to see a bullish dollar. It's kind of what I feel, but it's not about what I feel. It's about what actually happens. So let's see. This one is not ready. For example, you can see Aussie dollar has already a bearish imbalance. This one does not. So if it actually starts forming forward bearish imbalances, you can definitely look to trade it on the short side. Okay. However, again, always second scenario, if it pops higher with a bullish one, breaks above, violates that high, creating a higher high, get a quick long into the weekly, and then from the weekly, are we going to reverse? Are we not? That is way too far in the future. Okay, so this is my outlook on NZUSD. I would say I would prefer shorts. Okay, all the majors are kind of shouting shorts to me, so this is kind of the overall stance I would pick going into next week. All right, gold lovers, let's have a look at gold. There were some interesting setups on gold, a little bit more on the lower time frames because we're currently a little bit stuck on the higher time frames. Now, what did I expect is for the market to pull back and give me a long towards the liquidity, but the very first thing we did on the open is we took out that liquidity. So that kind of invalidates everything, but then we did we form a daily imbalance? Yes, we did form a daily imbalance. There it is. Damn, this is how I drew it, and this is exactly how it formed. Really? Absolutely crazy. I'm crazy, right? So we did have that daily imbalance here. However, you can see as the market came in to tap it, it really massively flushed inside it. And then it had forwardly bearish imbalances. Then it kind of chopped around. Then we had the Trump candle. And then all the way, I believe, until Thursday is when we got the first trade towards these lows here. Okay, that was on the lower time from here, targeting the lows. And then we got longs on Friday. So you can see we had to wait for a whole week to actually get some clarity, because here we were looking forwardly bearish, but in a daily bullish, or like, okay, long or short. You could have tried a short here, but then it was from a daily bullish imbalance. So I do believe I personally did not trade gold this week, but I know we had trades on Thursday traveling towards the previous daily low, and then on Friday longs. I paper traded the Friday longs right there. I generally don't like trading on Friday, but Friday was amazing this week. And then you can see, like, within the weekly candle, we're starting to really compress right here. We are on the macro side of things. We are in a really compressed price action. I mean, it's probably okay because we've had an absolutely crazy run on gold, and right now it's starting to get a little bit sloppy right here. No imbalances on the weekly, no imbalances on the daily. I mean, we did have one, but when you are in an overall consolidation, even the daily zones don't tend to hold. Okay, so very, 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 very chopped up right now. I mean, we can immediately draw like the current, for example, overall range of liquidity. It's between that high and then this low. And then, of course, we're going to have this low down there and then this high, but I'm not going to draw that far in time. And then taking kind of into consideration this sort of our shorter term range, we can see that on Friday, we did form that volatile zone. This one beautifully followed through. And then we did form another one. Okay, so if you ask me right now, I see longs, right? I see longs target here, but then of course the low hanging fruit will be this one. Okay, so if this was kind of a normal day, let's say Tuesday, I would very likely be looking right now to long into that liquidity and then to see if we close above with an imbalance, then potentially on the next day or maybe even on the same day looking to continue towards the next liquidity target. Okay, I would of course be dropping on the 1 hour. The 1 hour looks great because it's a very corrective pullback. There are no bearish imbalances to potentially stop price. It looks very similar to that one. Impulse, very corrective correction, and then impulse again. I do like the longs, however, on the hard time frames, it's really chopped up. So currently on gold, you gotta be really fast. We're trading a lot of 1 hourly and 15-minute zones right now on gold. I'm pretty much not really scalping it, but looking for very, very, very quick moves. Because if you try to like forecast right now, like on hourly and daily and weekly, you're gonna be lost because you literally get nothing. So this is my overall outlook on gold, okay, which is it doesn't align with like the short bias I have on all the majors and the long bias I have on the DXY. However, I've spotted that gold doesn't always care about these things, especially in the current times. Okay, so let's see. Of course, always, if the market opens up, invalidates that imbalance, followly bearish imbalance is guiding us lower, guess what? Okay, target number 1, target number 2. Okay, but I prefer the longs. Okay, I do prefer the longs. So let's see how that volatile zone is gonna hold. Of course, you can wait for Monday to really show you that it's holding, and then you can look to chase it higher. Always, like Mondays, I usually a very, very, very big percentage of the times I'm just waiting. Okay, I'm just waiting. This is my outcome on gold, but again, I'm gonna say I am more long bias. I really like this very recent volatile bullish order flow, but that can change pretty fast. Okay, here I also could have liked that these lower highs, right, and look to take a short, but then invalidate it, and then maybe look to take a long, but then invalidate it again. So we're in a pretty choppy market, so really watch out for it. Make sure to monitor the volatile, and in this case the 1 hourly time frame is extremely helpful because this is the time frame that is going to show you the very first shifts of momentum. Okay, so that's gold. I'm preferring the longs. Let's see. All right, let's have a quick look at the JPY, starting with UJ, which is the only JPY that I would personally look to trade. So here again, we had ending up the week with a volatile bullish imbalance. It was a pretty crazy open. I think it didn't form an imbalance on Tuesday, but then it eventually, again, guys, just let Monday pass, wait for it to show what it wants to do. There it is. First thing that it does, volatile bullish imbalance, easy, right? The market pulls back into it, you get your long, boom, liquidity target achieved. There it is. And then massively popped. Now in this case, when it popped that massively, and then if you try to trade from something like that, I mean, this one actually got tapped real quick here during Asia and it took its liquidity. So then afterwards, you're not really allowed to trade. And then afterwards, it became a mess. Okay, so you kind of got your UJ trade the first thing on Tuesday. Okay, so Monday, chopped a little bit, volatile bullish imbalance, pulls back into it, liquidity target achieved, boom. That's all you need. One good trade to a week. Now we have taken again this liquidity, which means that, okay, we can be looking for the next one. That is a little bit too high. We can look to, okay, wait a second. We're actually having a weekly bullish imbalance. That is very important. And we're also having a body close above the liquidity. That is also very important. So looks like a lot of bullishness on USD JPY. And not only that, but we had, okay. Yeah, there's an extremely, extremely minuscule daily bullish imbalance that the market actually tapped and is reacting. And currently this will be the low-hanging fruit. Then we can look to refine it a little bit to the left. Now, so for example, if I refine, that will be a high. Where is the other high? Did it disappear? Didn't I draw a high here on the weekly? Am I going crazy? Maybe I'm going crazy. And this is the next one, okay? So currently we are heading towards that very recent liquidity, and then we have to use the forward time frame to see what's going on. And the forward time frame is very choppy, so it doesn't give us a forward bullish zone. It doesn't have a forward bearish zone. I mean, it actually had this one here that the market freshly pulled back into, and we're reacting from it. And this weekly is very low, okay? So it's gonna take a lot of, like, we're probably gonna have a bearish week if the market decides to pull back into this weekly, which it could, okay? But if we're bullish bias, we wouldn't really expect that this much, but it's absolutely possible. So what I would like to see is maybe, I can give so many outcomes on this one. We can straight on rally, close above the liquidity, and attack the next one. We can go lower, create the low, take out some liquidity, then maybe stop somewhere here, okay? And then start building the bullish order flow and target the liquidity. And then, of course, the third scenario will be we actually really go bearish this week for some sort of reason, okay? And then we tap into the weekly, and then from there, we gotta see what is gonna happen. However, again, I prefer the bullish scenario. I should type like that, because I always do preferences. So, for example, on gold also I was preferring bullish. I believe on Aussie dollar and NZ dollar, I was preferring bearish, but when I give you two outcomes, right, you get the point. So I'm definitely in a bullish preference here. Really looks great. However, we don't have any daily or hourly zones to push us higher right now, so we have to wait for new ones to form. And again, it's a pretty big question. What is going to happen on the open? So are we gonna gap up above and continue higher? Are we gonna also, like, another scenario could be we take out the liquidity and then we start retracing? That is also very likely, okay? But let's see. My favorite scenario will be that one, the second one, because we're then going to open up the weekly candle. We're going to make a low, and then as we start building bullish bias, we're going to have a clear liquidity target. Meanwhile, if we open up with a bang, okay, then similar to last week, right, we open up with a bang here, okay, and then pretty much for the rest of the week, you can see we consolidate. But if we open up with a manipulation, and then we have a whole week to trade the expansion, okay? So that is USD JPY. These are kind of the scenarios that I have. I again prefer the bullish side of things, so let's see how it's gonna play out. I would be waiting for a new zone to form, and then of course flowing with it. Quick look at EJ. We ended up with a forward bullish imbalance on the open. We pull back a little bit, gap down into it, and then we just carried on to the upside without any bullish imbalances. Then we had the flush. The flush didn't follow through, and right now it looks like it wants to pop higher. So yeah, I mean, I don't trade these things, but currently we're also having a weekly bullish imbalance. So this is quite a few weekly bullish candles in a row. I mean, I really dislike these JPY pairs, but seems like they have been rolling here. So hopefully you guys trading them, you are winning, okay? Weekly imbalance below us with a very recent liquidity point here on the day, on the forward time frame. We're having this is an imbalance that the USD JPY already tapped into, okay? This one has not. We're getting very close towards the liquidity. So again, like, a good scenario will be something like that. A more aggressive one will be to immediately look for the longs, which is what I think could happen, because when we get so close to the liquidity, we've had it even for example previous weeks where I tell you I would like to see this liquidity taken, but then the market is pretty close to it. And usually the first thing that Monday is going to do is take it, okay? And then what happens after Monday, we don't know, okay? We have to show up every single day. This is why I do a fresh analysis for my private community every single day, okay? So that's it, Euro Yen. Overall bullish bias. Let's see how it's going to play out. Follow the new zones that are created or trade long from that zone. Let's see. God damn, look at this, right? Absolute consolidation right here. So yes, again, I said no idea what's gonna happen. We came and take the liquidity, tried to push up, push down, trying to push up again. Did we take that one? Okay, we actually took it at the very end of the week. I mean, yeah, I'm really have nothing to say. We don't have a weekly imbalance here. We are taking a very important high to the left. Daily time frame, absolute chop. Taking again also this liquidity. This one really looks like it wants to take out the opposing side as well, simply because it really doesn't have anything to push it higher. Nothing on the forward time frame here to push us higher. I mean, like, this is a crap pair. Like, sorry, I know a lot of guys like GJ, but I mean, really not sure how you trade this thing. I have nothing to say here. No zones, massive buy side liquidity being taken. I would even speculate on a short here because it's just so choppy on the way up, but that's gonna need some sort of a catalyst. And again, EJ and GJ and UJ, sorry, being more bullish, could possibly pop higher, but yeah, this pair is just a complete skip for me. So guys, again, if you're trading GJ, I'm not the guy to look to look for analysis from. No idea what's gonna happen here. No zones, absolutely nothing. Let's have a look at the index futures. So they were pretty consolidative this week, although there were some good and volatile days. Overall finishing profitable, but I had some trouble at the beginning of the week, especially like with buy. As you can see here, I had like 2 potential scenarios, and the market opened with a gap. Collected this kind of liquidity here. That is not a very major one, but it took it. And then from there, we turned all the way up to all-time highs. And then from all-time highs, we turned all the way back down towards this weekly imbalance. Okay, and then from there, we absolutely turned. I think that was the Trump candle here. Okay, and then I had my most profitable day on Thursday, actually, here, trading that candle towards a new all-time highs. And then I also took some, I took a win and a partial stop loss on Friday. So yeah, pretty much the last 2 days kind of saved the week for me. But overall, kind of a choppy developments, right? Well, that is what usually happens when we're sitting at all-time highs. The market either is going to impulse above, or is it going to start consolidating and then maybe initiating a bigger pullback. Yeah, on the monthly time frame, we're creating a monthly bullish imbalance right now in 12 days. So maybe later on we start pulling back. Weekly, there is nothing new. And then on the daily time frame, oh, we have this on the daily. That's not bad. Okay, daily bullish on the daily, right? I would love a pullback into this one and a potential long, and we're very close to it. We are coming inside with a probably bearish imbalance, so then we have to wait for that sandwich situation to fail. So the market either tap into the quality, get into the daily, then we're not gonna look for this one to fail, and then from there go long. Or if the market comes first into the daily without tapping the FOH, then we have to wait for the FOH to react, break, and then again go higher. So this is my outlook. It looks pretty simple. We are again coming from a weekly, but that weekly already did its job to take the liquidity. And right now, if we pull back into that daily, just zone in, see if we're gonna start reversing from there, and then target once again, as usual, new all-time highs. It's always extremely tricky to be trading at all-time highs. So like, don't try to chase it above. Always wait for pullbacks, wait for a new all-time high to be set, and then trade towards it, just like here. Okay, the market massively pull back, tap into the weekly, and then you have from the weekly to all-time highs to be trading, right? And you get some good setup. So again, currently we're also pulling back. We're setting up new all-time highs. So if you manage to catch a trade anywhere between this sort of area, it's gonna be high probability. So let's see if the longs are going to remain. So far it looks pretty long. We are kind of sitting comfortable at all-time highs. So let's see. I'm more long bias on ES. Tech stocks in this case are actually doing better than the S&P 500. You can see here we didn't pull back that deep. We didn't take that much liquidity, and then we're ending up with a very nice actually structure here. We're having very nice higher lows and higher highs. So let me delete everything and see on the weekly time frame. So yeah, on the weekly time frame, we have a weekly zone here, but we're not really pulling back into it. We have an expansion candle here, and we also have a daily bullish imbalance, which is great. So that is a really good area to be looking for a trade. And it's a really nice area, because if this area fails, then that is going to expose potentially this low, and then all the way down to the weekly. Okay, so always think about the outcomes, okay? Don't necessarily say I am going to absolutely long from that daily, because what if the market opens and validates the daily? Then you're gonna get some beautiful shorts. But if you're still stuck on your bullish bias, at the end of the week, you're gonna be like, God damn, I'm an idiot. Why didn't I short? Okay, so we're having that daily zone, and very similar to ES, we're also having a quality bearish zone getting into this. So again, that could be the zone to drive us into the daily. Okay, and then from there, look for the expansion. If the market, the first thing it does on the market open, it taps the daily. Okay, then of course we also have to observe how this quality zone is going to react and wait for its failure. And then of course the clear liquidity, all-time highs. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty bullish right now, especially with the daily imbalance. It gives me a lot of confidence. So let's see. Hopefully we tap it, and hopefully we get some clear setups towards new all-time highs. And then of course, when new all-time highs are created, it's always sketchy. So you probably always gotta wait for a new pullback to happen, because you can see here, like we took it, pull back, here again we took it, we pull back, and here again we take it, and we're pulling back. So it's usually how it works. So again, trading towards all-time highs, good. When we're above it, be careful. So let's see if we're gonna get some longs. Looking at YM, it is still lagging behind a little bit, so hopefully it picks up some steam. We had a weekly that was tapped, it tried to react, and then we had another weekly that was tapped, and it's still also trying to react. So Let's see if it's gonna follow through. So if I just very quickly go to the weekly time frame here, we're tapping very nicely into it, okay? We're having these two weekly imbalances. We actually tapped into the second one, and the candle anatomy here, the rejection candle, is really nice because it's also sweeping the previous candle's low. So looking pretty good. And on the daily time frame, we're having two daily bullish candles. It is overall a very nice correction as well. So I really do like the longs. Now the thing is, it's a pretty kind of whippy here, like up and out and up and out and up and out right now. So it's not really consistent yet. And currently, like the very latest price action is pretty bearish, right? We have these two hourly bearish imbalances, and there is nothing bullish to pop it. Okay, so we really need to see US 30 also pick up some steam. In this case, like we don't have anything bullish, which sucks. Okay, so what we gotta do is wait for the market to tap these, fail them, and print new zones, and then eventually go higher. Okay, so I'm calling a long setup here without actually having any bullish zones. Even in such a case, I would say we can go to seek the liquidity. However, if that is like the weekly imbalance tap, and that should be the strong high, we probably shouldn't see it all the way back down, but we should also keep an open mind. That could also be a liquidity target from where we could reverse. So we can even come to take this one here. Like there are so many ways this one can develop, like come in right there and then start popping higher. We just gotta wait and see, okay? But ES and Nasdaq look pretty nicely bullish. They also have a daily bullish imbalance. This one a little bit sloppier, but of course, let's see if the other two are gonna pick this one up. And then when this one also starts aligning, I think we can have a pretty nice uptrend on all the US indices. So let's see, looking for these forward imbalances to fail and then maybe getting some longs. But I mainly trade ES, so I don't care much about it. Well, that's a pretty tricky delivery here. I was overall long biased. We had like a daily bearish imbalance that I forecasted to form on Tuesday, which it did it? Yeah, it actually did. And it was, yeah, a beautiful short from here. We had a daily imbalance, the market tapped in, reacted, and then it flipped. And right now it's pretty... Yeah, let's see the weekly time frame first. So nothing on the weekly. We're coming after a massive sweep. This weekly candle, you can see it's an inside bar of the previous one as well. There is nothing much on the daily. Like this daily bearish zone is tapped and then we took its liquidity, but right now the market is not making a new daily bullish, which means that this could potentially be liquidity. And then if we drop to the hourly time frame, also like it looked pretty bullish and right now it looks pretty bearish. It's a very whippy instrument as well, very volatile, very uncertain at times. This is why like it's always best to be trading the indices with a scalping system, okay? Forex tends to be a little bit more respective of the higher time frames. You can build a very easy like daily buys and maybe swing trade, day trade them, right? But with DAX and with US indices, I totally recommend, for example, more really intraday, even going towards a scalping approach, right? Because yeah, this one tends to change extremely fast. Just when you think it's gonna go bearish, it goes bullish, and just when you think it's gonna go bullish, it goes bearish. So you have to really be working with the lower time frames a lot. Currently, it's kind of similar to US 30, right? It looked pretty bullish. Right now it looks bearish, and again, it didn't really head for all-time highs. It doesn't have a new bullish zone to take over. So if this one continues to go lower, I'll just target this low here, okay? And if suddenly it decides again to start printing bullish bias and it start getting some imbalances, I will of course target the high. So that is how I would tackle it. It's pretty unclear right now. I can say it's short, but it's not really short because we don't really have a trend. We don't have an order flow, but we never really established it. We had a pop lower just when it looks like it might want to go lower, it starts going higher. And right now, just when it looks like it wants to go higher, maybe it goes lower. Okay, so let us track it. Let us wait for Monday, Tuesday to kind of show us where it wants to go. And then again, the important part with these indices is to always show up daily and really have no biases. Have a look at all the scenarios and just flow with the recent momentum. Alright, a little recap. So not a lot of amazing clarity going into next week. However, I do prefer more longs on the DXY. However, that like it's under question how this is going to develop. We have a weekly imbalance below us. So there is nothing on the daily. So really the key is the hourly time frame. Is the hourly time frame going to start picking up some bullish steam? Beautiful. Okay. If it's going to start picking bearish steam, we target the weekly bullish. Now, EURUSD as well, like it has been bearish for a very long while, which is why I prefer DXY longs and to continue with the EURUSD shorts, okay? We have a very small hourly bearish imbalance, but I really want to see it follow through, okay? I want to see this one follow through and go long, and if it fails, I'm going to go short. GU is more one-sided. I really like the longs here. We're having a daily bearish imbalance, we're having a weekly bearish, we're having a hourly bearish right there. So all the time frames look like are aligned. So I'm going to be looking for shorts on GU. Aussie dollar and NZD dollar, these are pairs that I do not touch. However, again, even here I would prefer shorts. It's kind of been more short in the recent times, but there are absolutely no zones on the higher time frames on Aussie dollar. It's a pretty bad pair. I would only short it if it really gives me some bearish order flow here, okay? Although we have been maintaining lower highs, which is why I also prefer shorts. NZUSD as well, similar thing. We're having a weekly bearish imbalance here that also builds up on that bearish bias. And this bullish weekly push, it doesn't have an imbalance, so this low should be weak. And especially with the weekly bearish imbalance, this to me is a pretty confident draw on liquidity. So if you start going lower, printing forward bearish imbalances here, it definitely could be a good trade. Gold, I also prefer longs. However, it's really stuck on the higher time frames right now, so I wouldn't really have any big expectations of gold. The way to trade gold right now is to get a little bit more scalpy. Okay, scalpy, right? Just get in, boom, boom. You see the direction during London session, and then in New York, you try to use like a 1 hour, 15-minute zones to drive towards the previous daily high and low, and then you stop because the market doesn't commit right now. But overall, I do see a very recent Fanatic bullish introduction here. It looks pretty good. So if you manage to follow through from it, I will be looking to target, in this case, the previous weekly high. Okay, and then if you don't, target the previous weekly low. Easy. USD JPY, I definitely prefer bullish bias. We're weekly bullish, we're daily overall is bullish, we're having a forward zone that is currently in the works. Now, how is it going to develop? We don't know. Is it just going to pop above? We don't know, but I do prefer the longs. Also, Euro JPY looks not that bad for longs. It has a weekly imbalance below us though. So is it going to pull back all the way back down? Or is it going to start printing some new zones going higher? We don't know that as well. GBP JPY is an absolute skip for me. It's extremely choppy. Well, why? Well, because GBP USD is super weak right now, okay? And while USD JPY is super strong, right? So then we got a mixture. All right, so if GBP USD is super weak, then this one wants to go down. But if USD JPY is super strong, then this wants to go up. So if one wants to go down and one wants to go up, this one chops. Indices are pretty bullish. We're having a daily bullish imbalance on ES, daily bullish imbalance on NASDAQ. So I'm looking for that daily imbalance to tap and then hopefully get some longs. YM a little bit uncertain, but it's coming from a weekly zone. So hopefully this low is going to get protected and we're going to start seeing some bullish order flow during the week to get longs. And DAX, it's a pretty uncertain to me right now. It's a very whippy kind of instrument. You always have to be flowing with it very closely. So yeah, but my favorites are, as always, I really love trading EU. I'm going to be focusing a lot more on EU because it's starting to move. Not that bad. So again, I really will wait for Monday, to show me what it wants to do, and then I'm going to flow. And then of course, gold. Gold is something that I've been getting really into, and then ES is my other instrument. So these are the only three that I trade. So let me know, guys, in the comments, what did you trade this week? How did you finish up the week? What are your learnings? What is your favorite instrument going forward this week? Wish you a wonderful and profitable week ahead of you, and I'll see if I update you on Wednesday in the incoming week.